everyone, and welcome to another Finance Friday fun night. I don't even know what to say. Anyways, thank you so much for being here. I'm doing the screen share, and I noticed last week that when I tried to start the video before doing the screen share, it would not let me switch over to screen share. So today I started the screen share. When we get towards the end, after we've gone through this, I will go ahead and turn off the screen share if I can. So you guys can see my face again. So let's get started on this. So what we have here, and I'm hoping you can see my arrow. If not, I will also try to verbally walk you through this. But if you look down here at the bottom, you'll see there's 6 tabs. Beginner, Intermediate, Advanced, the answer key for the beginner work, the answer key for the intermediate, and the answer key for the advanced. And although beginner is not truly beginner, because you do need to be able to multiply, add, subtract, and have some clue of multiplying using percentages, it's much more simple than the intermediate or advanced. So I'm hoping the younger children will definitely need some help with this, but even if they just kind of grasp the concept or do the parts that they can do, maybe they can do the adding and subtracting or something along that lines, where they can participate a little bit and kind of start to understand the concepts. This is definitely much more, geared towards the teens and even adults. So, so starting with a little bit of background, we have something called tax code, and I'm actually going to swap over here to the intermediate screen, because there you can see, whoops, maybe if I can, there we go. So you'll see these are the IRS marginal rates, which are also known as tax brackets for 2021. We do have the tax brackets available for 2021. I did get these off of the IRS website. For people who are outside of the U.S., I apologize. I know I tend to be a little U.S. centric. I guess it's a U.S. trait. But please use your country's tax codes and worksheets for yourself. Hopefully the concepts tend to be fairly universal. There may be some small changes and differences, but overall, when it comes to these concepts, they are fairly universal. And even if they're not, this is just they're good for math problems. So you could just approach it from that one. So I did put some questions under each thing where I give some information, their word problems. I do give you part of the answer and part not. So, and I also noted that, the assumption is that the annual hours for working full time is 2,080, which is 40 hours per week times 52 weeks per year. If you multiply 40 by 52, you'll come up with 2,080. Once again, this could be different in different countries. This is based on the U.S. full-time hours. And actually, if yours is different, I would love to hear about it, because y'all know I'm always interested in learning about what people in other countries are doing and how things are done and all of that kind of stuff. And especially now with not being able to travel, I'm like extra crazy about it. So, so please feel free to share that. So you will not see this in the beginner. In the beginner, I only do single or married filing separate. I just keep it as simple as possible for the beginner worksheet. But at intermediate and advanced, you will see that there are 2 tables. One for someone who's filing single or married filing separate, and then the other one is for married filing joint. I did not get into head of household or people with anybody being deceased or anything like that. I tried to keep it, once again, as simple as I could, because the tax code is very complicated. So you will see here that it does say, like, if you make $99.50 or less a year, you're taxed at 10%. Anything over $99.50 would then go up to 12%, etc., etc. And I did make some notes on the intermediate. No, maybe I didn't. Where'd it go? Oh, I put in the answer key. Haha, sorry. I'm like, wait a second here. I did make a note here that when you're dealing with these kind of charts, that everything's in increments. So any dollar amount, gross wages from 0 to $99.50 would be 10%. The minute you go over $99.50, so you go $99.50 and 1 cent, up to 40,2525, because that's the next one here. That is going to be that 12% bracket, and so on and so forth. And so you really need to figure out first what the gross wages are, which each of these little boxes is set up for. So you can figure out how much you're going up to, because what's going to end up happening is when you get to a certain amount, it's not necessarily going to be that entire amount. So if you'll see here, like the 12% bracket goes from it's totals $30,000 and $30,575. But because this person did not make that much, they will have a certain amount taxed at 10%. And I actually put in here to help them out, that they'll have $10,850 taxed at 12%, and then you'll add those together to get the taxes owed. So hopefully that makes some sense. Definitely go through this. You can work through it together. You can do it yourself first before you walk through it with them. And then, and I did make a note here with that example that, if your gross wages are 40,000, you will tax the first 99.50 at 10%, right here, 99.50 times 0.10, which is 10%. And then the next $30,050, which gets you up to that 40,000. So you have 40,000 minus the 99.50 that you're taxing at 10%, ends up being $30,050. And that would be at that 12% tax bracket, which means you're going to multiply that $30,050 times 0.12, which is 12%. Another couple things that I noted down here is that the gross wages are calculated by multiplying the hourly rate times the hours worked. So every problem does tell you what the hourly rate is and how many hours they're working. And so you can plug those things in and then multiply those together to get your gross wages. And then you want to break down the gross wages into each tax bracket, and that's where this can come in handy, because then you can 99.50 and 10%, and then up to 30,575 in the second one, and so on and so forth. And then what you do when you're all said and done is go ahead and multiply each of those brackets. So you're going to multiply the 99.50 times the 10% plus the 10,850 times 12%, and that'll give you a total. I did go ahead in each of these little boxes, and when I put the answers in, I did use formulas. So you will see up here in the formula bar, I don't know why that box is really big. I did put in here formulas so that you can see exactly how I came up with those amounts. So like when you get the total taxes owed, you'll see I showed that multiplication and addition using the parentheses, so that you can see how the correct answer was come up with. And so I also, one last thing here, is that I did go ahead, anything that's grade needs to be entered. Anything that I put in for you that's already correct, I just put in, and it has the white background. I did not, oh my gosh, I just completely blank on what it's called. I did not protect any of these cells or any of these screens, so you can change anything you want to in these things. If you want to mix it up, put different amounts in or whatever, you can totally do that. But you will see here, like the first question is, you make $10 per hour, work full time, how much do you owe in taxes? So here you would go ahead and put in your hourly rate. I did let them know, especially because this is beginner, that full time is 2,080 hours. So then you can calculate what the gross wage would be, figure out what part of those wages would be taxed at 10%, what part would be taxed at 12%, and then figure out the total taxes owed. Same thing for the second one, making $8 an hour, 10 hours a week, which is much probably closer to what your teens are going to be experiencing if they have that part-time job on the weekends or anything like that, where they're making closer to minimum wage. They're not working a lot of hours per week, and they can see how much they would owe in taxes. Another thing that I did, and then this one just has the third one where you're making a little bit more. And you'll see here with this one actually making $20 per hour, only working 20 hours a week. And this is kind of nice because it shows that when you make more money, you can actually work less and still make the same amount of money, which is a good thing for kids to grasp, because I remember as a teenager, one of my sister's boyfriends being all excited that he had gotten a job for, I can't remember what the minimum wage was, let's say it was $5 an hour, working 30 hours a week, but he had passed up on a job where he could make $10 an hour working 15 hours a week. And he just thought because he was, um, working more hours that he was making more money. And it actually was not the case. He was actually getting, paid less per hour. And he would have been better off if he would have taken the other job, making more money and working less hours. But he did not get that at the time. So hopefully, that's why I included that one in there, because, it's sometimes a good visual. Same thing when it comes to the intermediate and advanced. I did go ahead and had them figure out if you're married filing joint versus married filing separately, and how that affects you. And on the advanced one, I actually did. You'll see there's less boxes in here that I expect you to do more on your own. So if this is too overwhelming, you can start with the intermediate, and then to test yourself, go ahead and try the advanced one, where it doesn't give you as many cues. And in this one, I did go ahead and ask that question: should you and your spouse file jointly or separately? And figuring it out, which is the better way. Spoiler alert: most people, unless there's a big disparity in incomes, most people will find that married filing joint is preferable. But if you have one spouse that makes a lot of money and another spouse that really doesn't make a whole lot of anything, sometimes married filing separately can be advantageous. So with that, and then once again, you do have the answer keys. I did make some little notes here, so please feel free to go through that. Unfortunately, where my my little thing that says sharing a window is, it's like right in front of the other tab, so I cannot click on the advanced tab right now, but you'll be able to take a look at it. It's in the same format, so you will be able to see if you scroll up and down, and then again from left to right, that it does have little tips in there, little hints. And once again, if there's something that needs to be calculated, I did put the formulas in there so you can figure out how to do it. And if you still have any questions after that, please let me know. So I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing right now.